Welcome back to the new video. We have new machine which has been added to the December 2025, and I wanted to have a review onto that. And let's just say it's kind of a cool, and also we need to have a look into this because the name is called React2Shell. Okay, and yeah. So basically this machine, this room, TryHackMe room, gives the whole scenario of the introduction and understanding of the React server components, and what is the vulnerability and how we can exploit it, and what are the exploitation methods, how methods are available, and the detection. Okay, so basically it's a perfect 10. Okay, that is CVS score for this vulnerability. CVE-2025-55182 has a CVS score of 10, which is a 0-day exploit also, you can say sometime, and it definitely need to be fixed as early as possible. Better known as a React2Shell, we call it. It's a React vulnerability, and that's how it is, and we can dive into this. And it's officially one of the most lethal vulnerabilities ever discovered in the React ecosystem. We are talking about unauthenticated remote code execution. That means an attacker does not need a password. Okay, like they don't need an account as well. They just need to send one single crafted HTTP request to take over your entire server. That's just basically how it is easy as it is, because they can exploit it easily. Okay, and if you are running the Next.js or React 19, your house might be on fire and you don't even know it. Okay, so let's just dive into this 0-day works. Okay, so basically we have an introduction. In this task we will explore the CVE vulnerability, one of the most critical vulnerabilities discovered in 2025 December. And it's just like basically before the end of this year we have got to see one of the 0 days as well. And I can tell you that so many servers have been exploited, vulnerable at this stage, and so many companies have been using, right? So that is why the reason is this is a CVS score 10 has been provided to this one. And this vulnerability affects the React server component and the framework that implement them, particularly in Next.js. The vulnerability, dubbed React2Shell by researchers, so basically allows authenticated remote code execution through a single crafted HTTP request. We will examine the technical foundation of this flaw, understand how the React flight protocol works, analyze the actual exploitation chain, and dissect a working proof of a concept that demonstrates real world remote code execution. By the end of this task, we'll comprehend how a seemingly innocuous deserialization flaw can cascade into the full system compromise. Okay. Before we dive in, we have an official security advisory, and I have posted one of the video before that, so that I was just mentioning this part, like how this can be, how this is so much a so big issue here. So let me just zoom in. What is this? It's a pre-authenticated remote code execution vulnerability exists in React Server Component version 19.00, 19.10, 19.11, and 19.20, including the following packages: React Server DOM Parcel, React Server DOM Turbo Pack, and React Server DOM Webpack. Okay, the vulnerable code unsaved deserialized payloads from the HTTP request and the server function points. Okay, affect the version information. These are the affected versions information they have provided, and based on the flights protocols, these are the affected. Okay, you can also reference this going into this vulnerability main blog page. Okay, that is where the this has been aired on December 3, and as I have discussed so many things onto this, and you can update it. There are predefined updates are available, and they just have to update it. all the things. Okay, and it's just pretty much simple as it is to update. And yeah, okay, that's just what it is I have to discuss here. Let's come back to the first stage. We're gonna join this room and check this up. We completed that. Yep, coming back to understanding, let me zoom it a little bit. I'm gonna zoom out later when I'm gonna running on the exploits. Okay, basically let's move on to the technical phase. Okay, the flaw lies deep inside the React live protocol, flight protocol. Like this is how the client talk to each other in a React server. So whenever, unless and until the React flight protocol is present, the server basically communicate or talk to each other in the React server components. And the vulnerability comes down to one dangerous line of a JavaScript bracket notation in the JS. And when you access the property using the brackets, the engine doesn't just look at the object. It like looks at the entire prototype chain. Okay, I'll explain you how that part is. They have like this constructor part is there, right? So that is what we're going to be exploited. So let me explain that. Before we grasp the vulnerability, we need to understand the architecture of React Server Components. React Server Component is a feature introduced in the React 19 that allows the components to be rendered on server rather than the client's browser. Okay, this provides a significant performance benefit as the server can handle the computational intensive task with sending only the rendered output to the client. Okay, the communication between the server and the client in the RSC relies on the protocol called. So the communication between the server and the client in RSC. So although both said the communication totally relies on the protocol called React Flight, and this protocol handles the serialization, deserialization of the data being transmitted between the servers and the clients. Okay, when a client needs to invoke a server-side function called a server action, okay, it sends a special formatted request containing serialization data, and that the server deserializes and processes it. Okay, so basically when you want to connect to that, you will send it to server action, and it will deserialize it, from the containing serialized data, it will deserialize and process it inside the RSC. Okay, the flight protocol uses a specific serialization format with type market, which is, for example, $@ denotes a chunk reference, and $B denotes a blob reference. And basically stay focused on the blob reference, because that is what exactly the thing which is vulnerable right now. And reference can include the property paths using the colon separation. So you can just use basically the colon separations for the paths. Okay, property paths using the column separation. That's what it's trying to tell. Okay, this serialization mechanism is where the vulnerability lies, and the server processes these references without properly validating that the request properties are legitimate exports from the intended module. Okay, so we have a question here. What is a symbol that detonates a blob reference? Okay, we saw this from the above, which is a $B. Okay, next move on to the task 3, the code vulnerability unsaved deserialization. The CVE is fundamentally an unsaved deserialization vulnerability in how React server components handle incoming flight protocol payloads. The vulnerability exists in the require module function within the React server down webpack. So basically, the React pact has to to communicate between the server. The whole thing relies on the flight React protocol, and that flight protocol, this React flight protocol, presents in that is there in the React server DOM web packages. Okay, in these packages, So require module function within this packages. Okay, so the problematic code pattern here is the require module, they are using it. Okay, the module export webpack. Okay, they are exporting the module additional logic, so that, and then they are returning the module exports metadata. Okay, so what it says is this is a vulnerable line, right? So what is the critical flaw in this bracket notation? Access module exports metadata. Okay, this in JavaScript, when we access a property using a bracket notation, the engine does not just check the object's own properties, it traverses the entire proto chain. Okay, that's to be honest with you is kind of a critical process that you cannot easily see that. And I don't know this, like okay, let me complete this reading. This means an attacker can reference the properties that weren't explicitly exported by the module. Okay, you can easily get an access to anything. That's what it's telling there. And this vulnerability comes down to one dangerous line of a JavaScript, right? Those two lines, which is a bracket notation. That is what I was trying to explain it before. In JS, when you access a property using a brackets, the engine does not just look at the object, it looks at the entire prototype chain. Okay, by sending a colon separation reference, that's by using that constructor colon constructor, an attacker can climb the code until they reach the global function constructor. Okay, it's just like that is also, you can tell, like a traverser method in the whole React code. By like they can construct it, they can reach to a global function constructor by just using the constructor. If they see if they are using any if the code has been used any modules, which is web packages module and all that, so they just get an access to that and climb it to the global function constructor. It's like finding the master key, right, to the city hidden inside a regular Lego brick. That's like for your understanding. Okay, once you have the function constructor, you can force the server to execute any string. Okay, as like a live code, you want to execute anything, you will get an output for that, which is just basic. Okay, the most important JavaScript function constructor, function, some function constructor. Okay, that is what I'm trying to tell. Like they can reach to a global constructors, function constructors. So these function constructors are there, right? So an attacker can reach to obtain a reference to the global itself. Okay, the vulnerability becomes exploitable because the React flight protocol allows clients to specify this property pass through the colon separated reference syntax. An attacker can craft a reference like $1 constructor colon constructor with a traverser method. That's what I was trying to tell. Like they can use the traverser method in the code itself. So the get chunk module access its constructor properties. This is just the whole scenario, how you can understand. Okay, we don't need to scratch our head. If you want to understand the whole process, you can go through with the how React server processes are formed and all that stuff. You will understand it easily. Okay, the exploitation changed from deserialization to remote code execution. Okay, we're gonna focus on the remote code execution here. Okay, now let's discuss this Maple proof of concept. Oh, they have also provided the proof of concept. I guess we're gonna go through with that. Okay, they have given the HTTP requests here. We can use that to use the $@ deserialization to get the chunk reference and put the chunk protocol then as the then property of the root. Where is the then property? Is it this or is it? Oh, is this? Yeah, this then property. I guess they will explain it. Wait, let me go back here. The exploitation cleverly changed together multiple JavaScript engine behavior to transform a deserialization bug into arbitrary code execution. Okay, the stage 1 is creating a fake chunk object. Okay, they have created a fake chunk object in this child process. With this child process, the exploitation begins by sending multi-part form request with a 3 field. The field contains a careful crafted fake chunk object. Okay, the object mimics the React internal chunk class structure by setting then to reference and chunk protocol .then. So we are like creating a self-referential structure. Okay, I believe you might need to go through with these lines again and again so that you can understand easily what they're trying to tell. Okay, when a React process this, okay, what does happen exactly and all that. Like, see, to be honest with you, for this to understand, you have to have a knowledge of a React as well. If you don't have that knowledge, like, it will gonna be difficult for me as well. It's kind of like that situation, but you have to have a basic understanding of the how React works. Okay, check out that proof of concept part by researching that maple and, like, mimicking the React's internal chunk structure before you're doing this as well. Like, that will gonna help you understand the whole exploitation hijacking of this server processes. Okay, how this exploits hijacks the whole server's deserialization logic process and all, instead of going for a easy method of just by copy pasting it. And this let's say, like, this becomes like a okay, the whole React vulnerability has like half a million of public servers running on the Next.js and all that. The attack surface is like massive, to be honest with you. And the WIS research found like they have like 39% of the cloud environments who are wide open to this one. So that is the reason why everyone is rushing towards, like, you have to you have to patch this up as early as possible, because the patch is available, right? So that's why. Okay, I hope you understand this. Like, they're using they're using the chunk class structure by setting then. Okay, where is the then? Okay, this is the then value by this class structure by setting as a then to reference this to chunk prototype then. This is the chunk prototype then they are using it. So we are like creating a referential structure when React processes this and of its chunks, and it works again. Then, like, when this then revokes it, the whole process gets executed, right? So it won't works. It invokes the then and the method with the fake chunk as the context with this. Okay, I didn't find where is this and all. Okay, let's just not get confused. So exploit the blob deserialization handler, which is going to be I guess this one, or else like might be they're giving this here, I don't know. The second critical component is the this blob handler reference. Okay, in React Flight Protocol, blob handler prefix indicates a blog reference. Yeah, we know that. When basically React processes a blog reference, it calls a function that internally uses response dot underscore form data dot get response prefix plus id. Okay, so that will resonate. It calls that function internally, right? Okay, here's where the exploitation becomes elegant. We have polluted the response. So we are trying to pollute this response object with our malicious properties when the bob handler executes this is the bob handler, right, with B1137 with this reference. So when this executed, so what we are trying to do is we are like polluting this response object, and yeah, basically it actually executes a function which is a process main module require child process execute synchronization. Okay, we are executing a calculator here. Okay, we might gonna see a reverse shell as well. Basically we can invoke that if we want in the process of doing this. Let's break this down. Why we set a form data to point the constructor which resolves to the function constructor. The prefix contains our malicious code. Okay, this contains their malicious code, right? Okay, so the constructor gets executed. Okay, so we can also try to reach to the global constructor, right? Global function. Okay, that's where why these are combined. The function constructor is invoked with our code as a string argument, creating and implicitly executing a function containing our arbitrary JavaScript. Okay, achieving the code execution, the payload process, the main module requires the child process executed the calculator, whatever the argument that we give here. Okay, that demonstrates the power of this exploit. We are using the Node.js module system to access the process module, the main module being executed. That's what we're trying to do. Our main goal, use its require method to load the child processes. So we're gonna use those their requirements to load the child processes, and then call the executable synchronization to execute an operating system command. So we can execute an operating system command, like you can run anything you want. You can, because you basically have a root access there, right? Whatever the server that is been running. So this could easily be modified to establish a reverse shell exfiltrating the environment variables containing the secrets. Read sensitive files or perform any operation the Node.js processes has permission to execute. Great. Okay, we're gonna move into analysis and actual proof of concepts. Okay, we have a proof of concept which they have showed it here. Yeah, that is what the HTTP content was. The next action, header triggers the React server. Okay, the action processing the multi-part body containing the three parts. We have three parts. Yeah. Okay, the field 0 is the fake chunk object with our malicious response. Okay, we have a response. With the malicious response, they are putting the fake chunk, right, with the malicious response structure. And the field 2, which is $@0, a reference that points back to 0. This is the zero object, right? This is the one object, this is the second object, I guess. Yeah, field second. An empty array after that points back to the field 0, creating the self reference, and then an empty array completing the required structure. Okay, it's a pretty much clean process, but by just understanding this whole the global function process itself, like we can exploit this multiple vulnerabilities in the not one vulnerability in the multiple versions. That's just awesome to be seen that. Okay, affects the server component in the following versions. Okay, we have the Next.js version as well, and the Canary 77, all 15 and all 16 releases prior to the patching. Other frameworks using the RCE React router and Waku, Redwood SDK, and the various RSC plugins. The vulnerability is particularly changes because it has a default configurations are vulnerable. Create next application is exploitable without any code changes. Wow, no authentication required. Yeah, that's just hilarious to be seen there. Like the attack works without any credential. That's just awesome, right? For any it's like a dream come true for a, let's say if a if an hacktivist are there, if they don't have much experience and all, if they just saw this, will be like, oh, what the hell, we don't need to go for phishing or wishing or any bullshit to get on credentials. We can just exploit this easily there itself. Okay, so that's just how bizarre this vulnerability is. And at the end of the 2025 we are seeing is, and that is also like awesome. Security researchers report nearly 100% exploitable success rates, wide open. Yeah, this is what I was telling you. This research data shows 39% of the cloud environments contain vulnerable instances. And according to Shodan, 571,000 public servers utilizes React components and 444,000 uses Next.js. with all of these vulnerable versions, and the potential attack surface is enormous, to be honest with you. Yeah, like those many servers have been vulnerable. That just look that looks like to me a failed component. Okay, let's start our machine and acknowledge and get the access, improve VM infrastructure. Should I just I'll just acknowledge it. Okay, our machine is this, and yeah, this will gonna start. We have this HTTP request. I'm gonna copy paste it so that, because the exploit code is repeated below for a convenience. Okay, so we can use this exploit code because it already has the content data which is required and the child processes and all that. We just need to specifically work on this ID, because execution synchronization to a system itself, right? So you can run any code you want in the place of ID here. So as you have learned through the previous task, you can spot the execution ID will be executed at the remote server. Moreover, the knowing this payload will return the command output back to us in the server's response. Sending the payload via Bob suit. Okay, we might gonna use the Bob suit. We're gonna send a new HTTP request and then paste above the payload. And what do we have? Request tab as is shown below. Okay, and then we're gonna set this up to from HTTPS. Use the HTTPS checkbox clear. Okay, we might need to change the IP to exploitable machine there with the 3000 port. Yeah, 3000 port, and then I'm just gonna run it. Okay, we have two questions here. What is the name of the user running on the vulnerable app? And another one is the flag. Okay, let's come back to this. Let me open this first, and also I'm gonna run the Bob suit, and I'm also gonna keep this as well for the later process, because I do want to see, man. I do want to see. Okay, what is the IP? 10.82.180.2. Okay, 3000 port. Okay, it's running. I guess you guys can see this one. I wanna push it a little bit here. I can't. If I I can't, man. Okay, let's just go as it is, because this is running. I'm gonna run the burp here because it's already present, and once the burp is running, we're gonna see it. Okay, let's delay. What do we have in our machine? What do we have? Just wanted to see. That's nothing much. Okay, we have so many things, but let's not focus on that. We will see. We'll check out the website, right? So once the burp captures the response, we're gonna see what we can do. Okay, where is it? Where did it go? I can't. Okay, so yeah, let me turn on this disable. I'm gonna turn on this, and once I turned on that, I'm gonna go to proxy, and yeah, it did captured. Thank you for that. Yes, it did captured, guys. It did captured. I'm gonna keep this. No. Okay, there. I'm gonna keep this there. We have this. Let me send this to repeater. We're gonna go to repeater. I'm gonna keep this, and let's push this a little bit inside so that Okay, where is the exploitable payload? Because they have crafted already, so why to waste our time, right? Basically, so as we know from the prior method, I cannot send this unless and until I change this data to, what was that exploitable machine, 10.82.180.2, and if I send this, is it working? No, I guess. Let me open a new response. I'm gonna paste this, I'm gonna send this, and it will ask me, yeah, 10.82.180.2, and we're gonna remove this checkbox. We're gonna go for 3000 port. Okay, I'm gonna send it. Boom, it's just, we got this, guys. We can see it's showing the whole data, right? So where is that execution.id? So here is this, right? So let's just say, who am I? If I send this, we're gonna see Ubuntu. Okay, that's what the question was, right? Let me put that first. Ubuntu, oh sorry, Ubuntu. And what is the flag in for directory etc? I'm gonna say I can do the reverse shell and try to get the reverse engine payloads. Yeah, reverse shell generator. Okay, sorry. Let me go to netcat. My 10.82.160 10.82.160. What was that after that? 184, right? I'm gonna keep this to 9000. Okay, take this, go back here, go to the terminal. I'm gonna netcat tech lvnp. What was that? 9000, right? And I'm gonna run this. Okay, and at this side I'm gonna put my reverse shell yeah, I believe I might have got, oh, I got it. Can't access, thank you. Who am I? Yes, it's Ubuntu. Okay, we got the shell access, guys, basically from the netcat, and using this reverse proxy, reverse shell code. Let's take LA. What do we have here? I don't think so we have anything. Like, we have something, some application is running which is going to be this React or Next.js, and they say that etc, right? I'm gonna cd to etc ls take LA. Okay, I need to find the flag, right? Flag, I'm not seeing any flag here. Password, new networks, all the modules are there. Locate aliases, kernel accesses. I'm not seeing the flag. Okay, I got it. Okay, we have the flag, guys. So cat flag dot txt. Oh, boom, we got it. I tried remediation to reduce the stress. I don't care. Oh, sorry. Let me put this, and yeah, boom, it's done, guys. So that is completed. And if you want, we can close this. If you want, I can also tell you other ways. Like, you can run anything here from this site. Let's say, where was that? Here is that, right? From here to here. So let's say if you run pwd, you can see this. oh sorry, you can also run x calculator. That's what the previous method which was showing there. Yeah, but it's just giving the output one way or another way, like we have the access. So I'm gonna close this, I'm gonna close this as well. Let's disable this, close it. I'm gonna terminate the machine, come back to the detection part. Okay, what do we have in the detection? Oh, why this detection section is present in this vulnerability is basically to give a whole scenario and understanding for a SOC analyst and CTI analyst and threat analyst people. Okay, so that they can understand what they can use as a detection scenarios or detection techniques to capture these vulnerabilities inside the servers. Okay, this portion of this room provides the various detection mechanism for recognizing the React2Shell CVE within your network and environment. So even though if you let's say if you're a developer and if you want to check out, like, is there any is our React server is vulnerable to this, so you can run this detection mechanisms and you can get access to this. With the next action, multitude filter and the payload for the React server component flight control protocol, we will almost never see a regular legitimate user providing this within their query and the payload for vulnerable. So we have this for the snort, they have given this method. For the OS query, they have given this method so that you can identify the vulnerability inside the system. Okay, that's just how it is for the detection. And coming back to conclusion, now that you have completed this far, so they're just explaining how this vulnerability is and what this POC exploitation was done by. Okay, it was done by React2Shell. Proof of concept is present here. So like the proof of concept, you only utilize what they are giving you. So you cannot like just go and do anything which you like. So that is also mainly important, guys. So don't try to run different ways. Even though like the server only, like the server will be only vulnerable to one of the services, which is web packages, I believe. So one way or another way, don't do that. Okay. So that's what my time, guys. Thank you for watching. It was a nice video, and let's just go back to new vulnerabilities and devices which we need to cover it on the TryHackMe. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Good luck.